the startups, the ecosystem makers, the mentors who flew from different countries, and the lecturers, and everyone who's going to spend a week here at Rockit. So my name is Lina, and I'm the head of Rockit, and I am very excited to be hosting this week here, the PropTech Innovation Camp week, because we at Rockit, we are the home of fintech and sustainable innovation, and obviously PropTech is very important part of sustainability. In fact, there is data that says that almost 50% of CO2 emissions come from buildings. So those who you will be working here for this week on innovative ideas, you know that you can make a really, truly big impact on the environment. So you can carry that in your heart, that you're doing good things for the planet, not only buildings. But for us here at Rockit, it's really exciting because I think, I'm not going to lie, this is the first time that it's happening in Lithuanian Proptech ecosystem where the whole week is going to be dedicated for the ideas. So it's truly exciting to be hosting this event, and I'll talk later why it's important for us and who is behind this week and what are we expecting for that. But as any opening event, we have to start with a welcome speech, and I'm very honored to have a very special person to say the welcome speech today. And the person is Eimantas Norkūnas, the advisor for the Minister of Environment of Republic of Lithuania. And before we invite him and clap, I just want to say why I'm so excited, because we here definitely have quite a bit of experience with fintech, and we built a big community, even though I say it myself. And we know how support from the governmental institutions plays a big role in building the community and bringing everyone forward. So that's why I'm very happy to have the representation from the Ministry of Environment on this topic. But I'm also very happy that it's Eimantas who's here, because before starting the civil service, he's been working in the business himself, and he has a very innovative mindset and is creator of a few successful startups himself. So please now you can clap and welcome Eimantas on stage to say the welcome speech.
Hello. Almost said almost everything about me. And when I say where I'm working, usually for me it's better to read it, because it's complicated. IT advisor of Ministry of Environment of the Republic of Lithuania. But basically, yes, I am one of you. We co-founded a startup like several years ago. It was a successful startup. Before that, we tried maybe 10 or more ideas that failed. And looking from the point of view, from today's point of view, even the last idea is supposed to fail. But somehow we managed to proceed. And I remember when we started, and we were looking for the venture capital. We went to one camp to make present what we're doing. And for me, before that, I thought it was gonna be easy, like we're a kind of interesting product. But I remember that week when we're sitting in the room, and people are changing, and some various people, CEOs, investors, advisors, and most of them telling that our idea will fail. It was one of the most exhausting times, but also the most exciting times for when you still believe that idea and still move on. So basically now when I look back why we succeeded, it's because we did a little bit less and a little bit better than anyone else. And that's after I moved to the public sector to work for a government, and to create a digital country with the same mindset, maybe to do how to compete with these big countries, like to do a little bit less and a little bit better. And this is our strategy now. That's what we're doing in the Ministry of Environment. And one of the main goals that I see is how to help for startups to create the products, to open everything what we have, One of the things that connects this event to what we're doing, we're opening the data from our InfoStatybase, our home construction portal. So we are ready to open all the data we have. Just we started this 4 months ago, this idea, or 5 months ago, but it's really tough. GDPR is like a keyword that can stop anything from doing. So we're looking for various solutions, how to do it, how to open it. There was no question how to do not do it, but only how to do it properly and how to open the data. We were looking for various cases, but because everyone was saying no, no, and no, but it was not an answer for us. And today, 1 hour ago, I had a meeting with the minister, with the vice ministers. I just thought it's going to be our decision, political decision, to open the data, because no one else is not opening not taking this seriously. So I hope it will help. It will help you to move faster, and also we're doing this by contacting the startups, so it's going to be not the data that no one will use it, but the data that will be used for you guys, I guess, and for us too, because we need this data too, because we have a lot of that with them, and it's unprocessed data. So I hope in cooperation with our IT society, we can create something really valuable, and for a government and for the world, I guess. So good luck to do that.
All right, thank you, Imante. If anyone's working with data here, so it's good news, another reason to celebrate. I really liked what Imante said, that to be successful, you need to fail. So in this week, don't be afraid to come out with crazy ideas, even if you're afraid they're going to fail. That's what we have mentors for, to reduce the fail rate. Anyway, I would like to move along with the intro to the week and to this day. And I would love to take the laurels and say that here, myself at Rockit, we dreamt up of this PropTech Innovation Camp, and this is our baby, and we thought of it, but the reality is different. The reality is that this program would have never happened without Eastnine. And for those who do not know, Eastnine is a real estate developer that focuses on quality real estate in prime locations. In fact, Rockit is one of the Eastnine buildings, and you cannot deny that it's a prime location and it's a nice building, so the promise is delivered. But for me, I think not surprising why Eastnine is supporting this program, because if you open their webpage and you read their values, out of 4 values, 2 is innovation and sustainability, healthy environment, taking responsibility for the impact, and also always looking for sustainable ideas. So, however, I don't want to take the words out of Kęstutis' mouth, so I would like to introduce you to Kęstutis Sasnauskas, the CEO of Eastnine, who is the godfather, really, of this program, to say himself why it is important for Eastnine, what are their expectations, and to welcome you all. So, Kęstutis, please come on stage.
Thank you very much, and I'm really pleased that it's start happening. At Eastnine, we are, since the very beginning when we started the company, actually we thought that we will do something that is sustainable, innovative, and have a positive contribution to everybody's life. When you start, you do a lot of things. We just transformed a very big investment company into a pure real estate company. And when you grow in your business and become more meaningful, it also comes with very big responsibility. We are today the largest property owner in Vilnius. We have approximately 10% market share all across office buildings. We have a bit higher market share probably in the prime office segment. And that, of course, comes with a very big responsibility. What do we do with our properties? How do we manage them? How do we make sure that not only our tenants enjoy their time, but also we also make sure that contribution and the CO2 emissions are actually reduced. And we've been working very, very hard on sustainability. Of course, we started with certifications and so on and so on. and it looks fantastic. And today we actually do not even have a BREEAM Excellent house. We only have BREEAM Outstanding or LEED Platinum. So these are absolutely highest brackets of any kind of certification you can reach. But that is not enough. And what we see is actually it's not about only having a good building. It's not the same, just having a good electric car. It doesn't mean that you are environmentally friendly. If you charge it with coal, if you charge it with something else, it won't help so much, and your impact still will be very, very big. And of course, this is something that has been driving us, searching for new solutions, new ideas, how we can actually reduce the energy. And reducing the energy was kind of primary target for us to start this idea, because every time I see and every time we learn about buildings that we buy, that we run, and so on, we realize that our knowledge base is relatively small still. There's a lot of knowledge already gained into certain segments of real estate, like shopping centers. Shopping center owners know how people move. If they install a lot of tracking devices, you can actually count. When I was running a fashion company in Russia before, we knew that every customer in that shopping center was taking 95 steps or 96 steps or 97 steps a minute. Basically, people were running. And you could actually, when you count it, you could actually try to look where you're located. You can actually try to open your doors, angle them a little bit, so you actually, when you look at the flows, you did a lot. And this is not done anything of that in any of our offices. We don't know where the people gather. We don't know where it's heated, where it's cold, and so on. But we heat the whole house. And this is not really efficient. So there's a lot of data points that either not collected, if they're collected, they're not used. And there's a lot of, issues that we meet, that we see, properties that we buy, they're both heated and cooled at the same time. And it's lots and lots and lots of waste. And that means actually by digitalizing, by bringing innovation and bringing new ideas, we can save a lot. And energy savings, just reducing the heat 2 or 3 degrees brings enormous change in terms of energy consumption. So this is also about country security, countries like Lithuania security, because it's also about basically, your energy independence. We don't have any more sufficient energy production. We buy energy from abroad. So it is really, really important for us to not to waste something that is, very easy to save. So from that perspective, this was the initiative, and this was the idea, and I'm very happy that we can actually do it together with Rockit, because we're also thinking that, there's a lot of, it's fun to start one competition, it's fun to start something, short term, but to make this, to find a place where you can actually nurture and grow ideas, and find some kind of common space, physical space, but also, a community, and so on, and do it over time, because you can do a lot of initiatives, you can do a lot of flashy things, but they will never work if there is no continuity. And I think this continuity is the most important thing for us as well. And it's also a part of our sustainability thinking. We don't think very short term and so on. We do build things over time that actually sustain over time. And that's the whole essence of understanding of sustainability. So this is a great start. I was asked a couple of times, what do I expect? I don't know. Really, I don't know what do I expect. I have lots and lots of problems that I meet every time, that I see every time when I enter buildings, and I see a lot of opportunities. And I'm sure you have tons and tons and tons of ideas how to solve different problems. So let's look, let's be creative, try to find, ideas, solutions. Think of how you can market them. Think of how you can actually make it into a product. And that's, that's what it's all about today. So on this short note.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Kęstutis. I'll need a clicker, I think, to change the slide. It's so nice that it's quite cozy. I can feel really like at home. So thank you, Kęstutis. And I really like that you referred to the fact that, things have to be done sustainably, which means long-term, which means need to work together for that. Kęstutis, actually, when he came to talk to us about this idea, it was almost a year ago. And hand on heart, at that time, we did not know much about PropTech at all. But it didn't scare us because there are other things that we know very well. So we know that PropTech is very important for sustainability, and we're home of sustainable innovation. We also know that when business starts cooperating with startups, and we have that experience from our own accelerators that we run, this is where the impact can be really multiplied. We also know that to multiply the impact, you need a community and share the ideas. You can't do it just closed in-house, because when you open up and you share ideas, they grow. And, we know how to build the community, even though I say it myself. So we were quite excited to jump on this train and start creating the community here under the roof of Rockit that would work towards PropTech. And the other thing that we always say, that partnerships is important, whether it's among startups, whether it's between business and startups, and so on. So when we were putting this program together, we decided to practice what we preach, and we turned into our members, and the members are the Baltic Sandbox. And I would like to invite Andrius Milinavičius from Baltic Sandbox, who helped us with his colleagues together to create and put together this program and idea. So Andrius is not only the accelerator master and the business developer, he's also an investor with actually a very keen eye for young ideas and young startups. So you really want him to see you. But here, Andrius, please come and tell us what we can expect this week.
Okay, thank you so much.
So, hello everyone. It's actually a true pleasure to be standing here and to have a chance to say a couple of words. It's not easy to say something new after such speeches that we already had or listened to here. But maybe briefly about myself. Baltic Sandbox was, is and will be for the talents and for the innovators. When we started our company, we already said, we're not just here to do something. We're here to literally combine the knowledge, combine the talents, combine the people that see problems, help them get funding, and to actually achieve something. And that something is a true impact on communities, on societies, and it cannot happen without any stable communities, right? So we will continue doing that, and thank you, Lina, for mentioning Baltic Sandbox Ventures. That's truly an absolutely new page that we are opening this year, hopefully, and we will be heavily investing into talents from the very, very early stage. All the deep tech solutions, all the life science solutions that are there and will be created in the future through our frameworks. So, but today we're speaking about the PropTech innovations, right? When we started building this project, we were discussing what should be the first stage. The first stage for such topic as PropTech. I was surprised personally because each and every partner that we turned to, they had their personal approach towards the PropTech. And then I said oh my God, okay, so what is a thing called PropTech? I'm so happy that we designed a new project, and this full week, everyone, every day will be speaking about the PropTech from their own perspective. But most importantly, what do we want to achieve here? We want to align everyone, to make everyone on the same page. We want everyone to be on the same page to speak about the true problems that we already face and we will be facing in the future. Let's not even mention there are regional issues, right? The geopolitical situation and the new challenges that are being born because of this. My own personal perspective is we can only fight all the issues when we are strong ourselves. And having a strong and stable community is the thing to basically tackle the resilience issues, right? But when we started to design this program, we decided to have the key narratives. Obviously, you all visited our website and you saw it, and I'm truly happy to tell you today that all our 3 narratives were actually understood by the applicants, so we have solutions for each and any of them. This is not everything. It doesn't mean that only these 3 directions can be tackled during this week. What I want to emphasize a lot on PropTech Innovation Camp is not a hackathon. It's not a competition. We're building here a new platform. And as the speakers before me said, like, what should I expect? I don't know. In this case, you know what? Even from our Baltic Sandbox perspective, we're very open. We don't know what can we find here, but we have one main maybe idea. If we have a full room of innovators, if we have a full room of stakeholders, if we have a full room of business-minded people, and if we have a full room of people that are not afraid to make mistakes, so what bad can happen? With this, maybe, of course, we will give you more brief understanding on what will be happening this week, and there's so many things that we have designed for you guys, for everyone, not only the applicants, so I really want you to participate in this, but maybe a few main things. Yeah, we got 20, actually it was a bit more of our applicants, but not all of them were fully, let's say, filled in, so we didn't manage to talk to them and invite them to rethink their ideas again. So, but still, we have 20 amazing, talented teams. We have 25 plus mentors. Why do we have more mentors than the companies? Because each and every idea needs help from various industries and from various angles. In this case, I strongly advise each and every participating team to speak to as many as possible mentors, to bring the challenges on the table, because as I've mentioned before, it is a platform that we want to build here, and it's just the first step. We will see where it will lead us. And yeah, 20 plus events, all of the events for the different topics. And you can't be expert in one field, right? You have to be curious. And if you're participating in the Innovation Camp, get the maximum benefits you can get out of this project. So, said that, maybe I should stop talking. I should stop talking because we have an amazing panel coming up. And I believe there will be more and more and more of PropTech understanding in this hall, in this country. And as we talk to Kęstutis, who can stop Lithuania from becoming a leader in PropTech in the region? No one. Thank you so much.
Right, thank you, Andrius. I want to continue with talks more because now it's the time for the panel discussion, and we really have a star-studded panel discussion. And I will invite a man who, as no one else, understands the importance of the ecosystem, because Martinas Barzauskas is the creator of the PropTech Lithuania Association, and he will be moderating the panel discussion. And the panel discussion is there to inspire you because it's based on one of the narratives. The first, that sustainability should be not only for the planet but for the pocket, and how to make it cost effective. So the man full of PropTech ideas and the energy for the topic, Martinas Barzauskas, please welcome on stage. The clicker, you might need it.
I think we won't use it, so thank you. It can be. So I would like to invite the panelists to sit here. I will introduce everyone while we are here, so please pick a seat.
Oh, thank you.
One, two, three. Can you hear me? I think you do. Perfect. Okay, so hi everyone, and thank you Rockit for inviting us to this beautiful event. My name is Martin. Lina already introduced me. What I want to add that I'm also a co-founder of founder of two PropTech startups. So Lithuania Proptech is my thing and the thing that I'm super passionate about. So it's a huge honor to be sitting here today with this these exceptional panelists. And one thing I want to mention that this season is very different for all the years that I've been in PropTech. It's for more than 10 years actually. And from what I see, what Rockit with partners is doing here, this is a gear shifting time. So without further ado, I would like to introduce our panelists. So today we have a very beautiful mix of different experiences, and yes, so starting with the owner of commercial buildings, who happens to heavily support the innovation ecosystem, Kęstutis Sasnauskas, who you already saw on stage. Also a government advisor with startup and cross-continent experience, Liza Malner, right? A representative of all major property developers in Lithuania who has a lot of PropTech exposure to, Mindaugas Statulevičius. And an expert who helps companies to become green and certifies green buildings. Eugenius, is it Sapel or Shapel? It's Shapel, okay. So I would like to use the first part of this panel more to understand the current situation where we are, and for the second part to brainstorm the ideas to see where we can go from this place, right? So I'd like to start with Eugenius, and Eugeniu, I would like to address the elephant in the room right away. Because as we all know, sometimes in sustainability, there are more words than real actions, right? And we talked with you before about the topic of greenwashing, which is really big right now, right? Could you tell us where are we really? What is the situation right now? Because you see this from the inside, right?
So, hello, can you hear me? Mm-hmm. Is the microphone working? Can you talk to it? Hello? Try this one. And this one, does it work? Hello. Hello, so my name is Eugenius. I'm working for Vesta Consulting, a consultancy for real estate and corporate sustainability and beyond. And so, as we mentioned, to start, probably we should narrow it down from the top. So, basically sustainability and all the things that are happening now are driven by the science, right? So, what the science says, and which was the most recent report, IPCC 2018, said that if we want to stay within 2 degrees Celsius of global warming, we have to do a major action. And that basically says that by 2050, all buildings should be, and all the world should be net zero. When we look now, and my personal perspective from green building certification, sustainability certification, so those real estate projects which seek sustainability. And let's see the numbers. So if we look at, I just Googled statistics recently, and if we Google at how many buildings out there are in the world, you imagine a number? So it's actually really hard to estimate, but the estimate starts from 1 billion to 100 billion buildings in the world. And when we think about sustainability, which is top priority now in the science, and through the perspective of certification, which basically prove that you are a sustainable building, there are about 1 million certified buildings, even less so. So you see, we have 100 billion buildings, and there's just 1 or less % of the buildings certified. So, and we have 30 years to go. Buildings sustainability certification system has been there in the market for already 20-30 years. So in 20-30 years, we achieved 1% of the global asset numbers. So this just gives an idea what type of urgency is now in the world and how we should be putting effort, and things like this Rockit endeavor actually helps to solve the problems.
Thank you, Eugenius. And you are also an active member of Lithuanian Green Building Council, right? Could you tell us what does this council do, and could you define and help for us, because we have people from very different backgrounds, how you define the green building, right? And where do you see, how would you define it?
Yeah, so defining the green building. And there's actually two main terminologies used in the market, which is green and sustainable building. And they are mixed vice versa. And sometimes we lose the real meaning of the word. So basically by the meaning, green means to reduce the environmental impact. And there we go through certification, for example, when we reach, for example, to reduce energy, to reduce water consumption, to reduce waste generation, etc., etc. So this is greening the building, which means to make it better than the standard practice in the market. When we talk about sustainability, sustainability means to sustain a building and make it sustainable through generations, to support the current needs of our economic development and also to not to compromise the future generations. So sustainability is already trying to move forward and relate itself to buzzwords like zero energy, net zero, zero waste, zero water, regenerative design. So something that recreates and strengthens current practices. And so Green Building Council that we are part of, our company is a part and one of the establishers, we trying to put nationwide in the Lithuania, put forward the green sustainable building idea to educate the market, to also create our own certification system, which is valid for Lithuanian market, doesn't go beyond for now, unfortunately. And so trying to grasp all the, if it's the right word, laggards, you know, because so far the sustainability and certification was for one building excellent type of thing. So, okay, we have a building, let's make it shiny, let's make it super certified, but we didn't think about the laggards who are standing there behind and who just build there just to, you know, stand there for hundreds of years. And so now what sustainability is also trying to grasp is to change the perspective, not to trying to put up one single perfect building, but also put the ones that are at the bottom and to certify and to improve the efficiency of those at the bottom buildings. And so Lithuanian Green Building Council actually served this purpose to actually give the chance for all of the buildings, to educate all the buildings that they all can achieve to get better and to actually reach for our Green Deal goals.
Thank you, Eugenijus. I think this is a good second topic, maybe later for all of us, not to talk only about new buildings, because it's way easier to design a new sustainable building, but to talk not only about construction, but also about reconstruction. So we can leave it for later if we still have time. So Lisa, you are the New Yorker who spent a lot of time, around 10 years in Denmark, right? Also in Asia. And now you're back as an advisor to government of Denmark, also in New York. So could you share with us how this global perspective and continent perspective, what it gives you to how you see the improvement, the journey of the transformation of the built world?
Yeah, for sure. Oh, wow. I didn't think I'd need the microphone because I have a loud American voice, but it's nice not to have to shout. But I'm here to tell you that when you're a startup, of course, it's really important you have an innovative idea and you get funding. But what helps you get that funding is timing. And I'm here to tell you that right now the timing is amazing, especially in New York, because what's going to happen in 2023 is that buildings that are not compliant with sustainability laws start getting fined and they start getting sued. And if there's anything that can motivate an organization to start to use new innovative products, it's the fear of a lawsuit in the US. So that is one of the major changes that I have seen since I've started advising companies coming into the US. Short and sweet.
Yes, and could you, we talk a little bit, I think everybody would be curious to hear what is the main difference, right? Because for me personally, I see US real estate market is a different universe, right? And so you've been so much in Scandinavia, so you know our region literally, right? So what is the main difference and the similarities at the same time?
Well, what is the main difference between the New York PropTech market or the US PropTech market broadly? So first of all, right away, we're talking a lot about sustainability. We're talking a lot about how to make buildings more green. That's a political discussion in the US, whereas here in the Baltics and the Nordics, it's not. It's just an accepted fact. But what is interesting, of course, is that regionally there's a lot of changes going on in terms of what voters have to say and how they're promoting green sustainability initiatives in their own communities and how they're pushing local governments to take initiatives. So the biggest difference would be actually you can find an ecosystem that might be very similar to the Nordics in a specific city or a specific county. And part of scaling is also targeting that and finding the market that's interesting for your specific need. Does that make sense? Okay.
Okay, and you also have lots of experience, right, with consulting public sector and private sector. You also worked with startups at startup companies, right? Could you say because we want to establish this, where are we now, right? So where are we now? What are you seeing from your experience?
What am I seeing from European companies, or what am I seeing from US companies?
Yeah, of course. You had so much experience with Denmark, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you are bringing investors, foreign investors to Denmark. So yeah.
I understand. So just to give you guys a little bit of background, in my previous position, something that I used to do was try to recruit foreign investors to become LPs in Nordic funds. And one way you do that is that you get some really juicy, tasty, underpriced startups and you dangle them in front of the investors and say, hey, you're kind of missing this huge part of the market. One thing that the Baltics and the Nordics are really good at is using data to make insights. There's a couple of things that make that the case. First of all, in the Nordics especially, there's a long history of registry data that's accessible to companies and researchers that you can get access to. Number two, you have a very low power distance here. Look at the people in this room and on this panel. This is amazing that you as early stage startups can talk to them. That is absolutely not the case in many countries. So when you're here, find these partners and pilot with them at this super early stage, and you can have data to back that up. That's something amazing that you can't do otherwise. When you take that use case that you have with this major developer in Lithuania, and you can take that to an investor from a country like Japan where that's absolutely not possible, that's really interesting. That's competitive.
Thank you, Lisa, very much. I would like to switch to Mindaugas. Mindaugas, you worked and represented the major property developers in Lithuania for over a decade, I guess. Could you tell us what was this journey? What changes have you noticed in terms of innovation, technology, and sustainability?
Yes, thank you very much, Martin. And it's really nice to be here because 5 years ago, our association gathered, I don't know, I don't see the same faces, but some of them are here for the first PropTech conference in Lithuania. Then there was the PropTech was, what is that about? And we had to explain to everyone what is this about, because we brought this idea from European conferences, and we saw a lot of opportunity because we saw where fintech sector is going, and we knew that PropTech has a very big potential as well to transform the very slow and innovative real estate sector. So congratulations. Formerly it was Rise, now it's Rockit, but I see this as a home for PropTech in Lithuania. So talking about the road that our sector has come. So the road is, I work myself more than 10 years for association, but our members started checking, investing, and adopting property technologies, I would say about 5 or 6 years ago only. And we have some successful examples and some early stage investments that we can talk about, and we can talk about probably the most successful ones are where the two sectors have merged. It's fintech and PropTech. We talked about there will be some platforms that can help you invest into real estate and make this road easier. So now we have at least few of them that brings both property developers, investors, to retail investors who can put their money into a real estate project and do it safely and really in a good form. So I think it's a success story, and not one platform, but at least 4 or 5 are now operating and successfully operating. What is very important that to say is that talking about the potential, maybe we'll talk later, but I want to stress in the beginning that Lithuania is very much regulated country in terms of real estate, land usage, construction law, and so on. So it's a big potential for startups, and I see that this potential is not unlocked yet. To find solutions, because these changes, they are from top down. Yeah, it's a governmental regulation. You must adopt it. You must adopt your business to that. You must calculate. You must do changes, and sometimes you must do it very quickly. So with the help of technology, maybe it could be done in an easier way. Yes, we have quite a strict regulations in terms of construction, and they are getting more and bigger, I would say. That's our daily work that we are as an association of real estate developers working with. So it's sometimes we just not keep up with the pace of the government, and we must tell the government that maybe it's not worth doing such a quick changes because the market is not ready yet or so. And third thing I would like to stress is that I'm happy in that period that we have a really good municipal initiatives. We had a mayor of Vilnius opening our conference 5 years ago. Now we're happy that there's a Minister of Environment present, so it's in a high political level. But the municipality, the Vilnius City municipality, has really done a big work. And for the companies, for real estate companies who want to implement technology innovations, Vilnius is really a place to do it. It's open data, it's a lot of digital information that's available if you want to do it, and I think it's a big value to test your projects exactly here, not in other Baltic states, but in Vilnius, in Lithuania, because the government is really open to that, and I think that your projects, I'm talking to the startups, to the 20 teams that are presented here will be, it's really a place to do it, and please use it. Maybe government is, and Center of Registers is a bit lacking with the openness of the data and the actuality of the data that is open. But for the municipality is really a green light, and I'm really happy for them. I don't know if there's someone present, but maybe they're watching online, so it's really a great job that you are doing over the past years and helping businesses to catch up.
Thank you, Mindaugas, and also thank you for starting the PropTech movement in Lithuania. Lina named Kęstutis as the godfather of the program of this beautiful accelerator. I'm always naming you the godfather of PropTech initiative because you with Justina Juršytė were the absolutely first people in Lithuania who started saying that, okay guys, this is so important. And we were talking with Eugenij, it was before he was sharing a story how he came back from US 10 years ago in some kind of sustainability program, right? And he came here excited, yes, I have so much knowledge, and how can I use it? And at his company, he's been told that, oh, wait, there's nothing happening. There's absolutely nothing happening here. So 10 years ago, there was absolutely nothing, right? 5 years ago was almost nothing. So I want to ask, what inspired you to start that movement, right? Was it only you, or was it some kind of also developers who said that we want to do this?
Yeah, of course, it was not one person initiative. It was an initiative of the more members, and we organized other initiatives such as a hackathon on a bigger scale is happening today. It was just a one-day event, one weekend event actually. So yeah, we tried to scratch ground a bit and see, do the are there any startups that would like to work on our issues? We brought the challenges, we opened the challenges, of course, sustainability, parking solutions, construction challenges, and so on, and we brought them on the table, and we found like 10 or so teams who were ready to start and work with that. Martin, you probably were one of in the beginning as well, seeing this information, and yes, that's where we started from. I mean, bring the problems and try to find the solutions. Yeah, we brought international experts to see what the world is working on. Of course, and we came to the States to see actually just yesterday, just last week, they finished the New York Technology Week. They do it every year. We've been there 3 and 4 years ago. It's really an initiative to see where the world is going. Of course, not on the scale that we are doing here, but it's really interesting to talk to the people from all over the world. We brought some Scandinavian partners to teach us, actually, really, to teach us how to work with that, how to encourage startups to bring solutions. We called real estate a dinosaur back at 5-6 years ago because we're very inert and very slow moving in terms of progress. And I think that we are in a better situation. And I think after this week, we'll be in an even better, much better situation in maybe some solutions, some companies will be ready to get investors, early stage investors, to find their solutions, because from the beginning it was just pure initiative and say, okay, there's our problem, come and solve it, maybe we will invest. And let's say in the beginning it was like we need a solution to have a parking place optimization. Of course, how can we do it? We have a commercial building, we have residential building, and we have not enough parking places. Maybe they somehow can interact and optimize the movement of the parking during the day and during the weekends. And we found some solutions, and it was the first steps, very little steps, but we moved on. So I think we're on a good road, and after this week, I think there'll be more solutions to real estate developers to invest to also, because we're trying to connect businesses with startups that not only venture capital, not only risk capital can invest, but also real estate developers who touch these problems every day. They can be with the skin in the game and with the money into these startups.
It's an absolutely great mission, because funding is a huge issue for PropTech initiatives right now, especially in our region. For example, Baltic states doesn't have have zero venture capital funds for PropTech, so only generalist VCs. So it's very important to look, and also a tip for the startups. Yes, absolutely. Look at the mentors here as your potential investors, as your potential clients, because it's the way to fund the company, to land major clients. And Mindaugas, because you represent such a big crowd of biggest property developers, and we want to understand the current situation. So how would you rate, where are we at now? Like what is the stage in terms of innovation and sustainability? What developers are speaking? What are they mood about this topic?
I would say we are we're taking careful steps. And I would like to see more that we have big investments and big encouragement from real estate developers to invest. But I would say what I see is that some of the companies are doing their closed hackathons or searching for ideas personally for them, and then investing into these ideas through their private maybe investment funds or some other initiatives. And I think we must unlock a bigger potential, because in every country that is successful in terms of PropTech, there is like accelerators or venture capital that is strongly investing into these scalable projects. So I would like to encourage our members and our developers to bring it to open up and bring it to the audience, their challenges. Not close. I mean, of course, it's a competitive thing. I mean, you put your money into that, and you don't want others to use it. But I think it's narrow thinking. I mean, we have learned over the past 10 years that if you want to be competitive, you want to grow, you have to open up. So I would like to encourage. I mean, and I think it could be done in a really bigger scale, and to search partnerships. Some of the developers are looking into partnerships. Let's say developers with facility managers are starting some initiatives because facility managers have a lot of data. What maybe Kęstutis will talk more about. The building owners have a lot of data, and then they can help developers to develop better buildings with having this data, and to avoid mistakes, because avoiding a mistake might be a bigger success than let's say opening up and let your investment fly to the whole world and let your money fly to the whole world. But it will return in a bigger return when you skip the mistakes that you probably could have done. So my message is to be more brave, and to seek partnerships, because we as a small country, I mean, with a small solution, we are not interesting to anyone probably, or just for the small scale project. We must do it. We must open up, and to be early stage mentor, investor, developer who has found this idea and scaled on the bigger scale to be a really good success. 5 years ago, we looked at the map of PropTech. There was an international company who does these maps, UNISO, I guess it's called, and they saw that, yeah, well, there's one investment of PropTech in the Baltics, and it's in Lithuania. Oh, very happy. But I think that now we are maybe sometimes even lacking behind of some Estonian startups and other countries in the region who have opened up earlier. So it's my message and my encouragement for our developers to do it more widely and think more widely.
Thank you very much for touching this. I think this narrow thinking, as you mentioned, or short-term thinking, as the speakers before talked, it's critical. It's make it or break it, because just example of Walt, the also Finnish startup, came to my mind when you were saying about this, because when they started here, right, they had to onboard all the restaurants, and the restaurants were really conservative, and I don't want to be with this or with this. And when the pandemic hit, it was the make it or break it moment, because the ones who were on the platform could survive and could have clients. And so these poses, you need to think in the future. You cannot think for this day. So
I have one comment as well, a bit looking at the historic perspective, and do you hear it like this? Or? Yeah, hello? Yeah. So I think what we should not forget that most of the innovations have been already innovated. They are already existing. Most of the solutions already are there. Electric cars were quite popular back in early 1900s. The roads were not ready and the batteries were not ready. We had scooters as well, electric scooters early on. So I mean, what we use now is actually quite of old ideas. What is important for any idea to thrive is actually the time and the circumstances around it. And I think for the PropTech, we have a fantastic opportunity. And for us, I've been working very much internationally. So for me, what I see a very, very amazing opportunity here in Lithuania is that it's a small country, it's a very tight community, and actually it's very close to the ministries. It's very close to, and we have, young ideas in the ministries as well. We have PropTech Association, it's easy to get access to everyone. Actually, this possibility of combining, and actually combined with a thrive to change and to develop, makes this opportunity really unique. And if we utilize it in the correct way, I think we can thrive, and we can do something much more than we even anticipate here. So from that perspective, I really encourage everyone to cooperate, open up, and the time is now. It wasn't probably 5 years ago, and so on. You don't need to be too early, but I think timing is really crucial.
I couldn't agree more with you, because I'm always saying that we as the PropTech community are walking on the shoulders of giants. because all the other industries, advanced industries like the hardware, the fintech industry, legal tech, gov tech, it's all related with PropTech. These are not separate things, and we have a huge opportunity. We don't need to invent everything from the ground up, as you just said. So I would like to take one step back because you already mentioned these opportunities. That's great. We will come there. But I want to start with, because you mentioned these tons of problems that you see every day, and that's literally, I think, for today's reality. It's true, we have more problems than solutions, right? And you as a company, you have very special perspective, right? Because the portfolio of Eastnine is around 700 million projected for so it's maybe in 2 years you will have a portfolio worth €1 billion, right? So it's really impressive portfolio, and you have lots of you see it from the best perspective. So could you share about these problems? Like, where are we at right now?
I mean, we talked about here about opening up data, and buildings are not just bricks and glass and the roof. It collects a lot of data, or it can collect a lot of data. So opening up and actually start downloading, start collecting the data, understanding it, analyzing it. Actually, we would be much more smarter, and I think our competitors in Sweden, they are downloading I don't know how many the massive data today, and they're just downloading it and saying, okay, at some point of time we will use it. We don't know how to manage all of it right now, but let's use it, let's keep it, and we will probably find solutions how we can look at the historic data. I mean, even today, in the future, I think real estate is a huge asset class. Real estate is, I don't know, after bonds, is probably the second largest investment asset class. So this is definitely something that has lots of money. And if you look on the property valuations today, we're talking about yields, talking about these things, but we don't talk about data. And for many other companies, data is a big value driver. And for us, it will be an important value driver. It is becoming, when we hire you guys to do due diligence, I mean, you see how little data you have about the energy consumption, about everything. So it's just really, it's crazy, because we're still kind of walking in the dark with most of even very modern properties, very newly built. Not talking about something that is more older.
Yeah, I guess being in the dark is kind of a reality for right now. I think for all major construction companies or developers or big real estate players, and I think it's also a little bit similar for startups too, because of the funding environment, right? So we are on the ground zero, day one, and we just take it from there, and that's not a bad news. It's actually good news, because it's always good to start and to be in the ecosystem.
And it's also another important thing. In property, when you develop a property, it takes 2-3 years. Sometimes it takes longer. From the drawing to basically the building is ready. That's kind of construction period. It could be 2 or 3 years, and then all the preparations, all the thinking. And actually, our environment changes much faster now. So most of the pictures that I see, for instance, that are offered to us to buy, or the projects that we see, they are already old. They are already outdated, and you just see it by thinking about how the reality looks today, and they were designed a long time ago, and so on. But with having data, having live data, you could actually you could predict a little bit better. I mean, your prediction tools would be completely different compared to, and we can see, you can adjust certain things when you construct or you build and the customer needs. And it's it's also like working with introducing an iPhone or something like that, because most of our tenants, our clients, they don't know what they want. They don't know what they need. They say, well, I mean, people are not coming back to the office now. Why? Okay, there is cultural things and so on, but maybe the facilities are not really ready for that, and you can use them in a better way. You can use it for different needs. You can adjust those and so on. So there's a lot of these factors. Again, why I'm talking about we're walking in the dark, because there's so much things that we simply don't know. And if we knew, that would gain us a huge advantage. And by offering, fantastic buildings more efficiently, we could, all benefit.
You are the one. You came to the PropTech stage really early, right? So it's very rarely when corporate clients come proactively and say, "Okay, guys, we need your help," right? Usually they're just staying behind, right? So could we use this your quality, right? To see for the long term, to see the future. So how could technology help your business, right? What can change or in other words, how can we help?
I mean, there's lots and lots and lots to change, and there's there's a lot of things where you can actually do. But one is definitely energy efficiency, and this is the biggest thing, and this is the thing that probably will get more regulated. There will be, lawsuits. There will be more demands from the governments. There's a EU taxonomy coming up, so everybody will need to report and so on. We also will need to report third scope, all of us one time in our lives. So this is coming. And actually, when we look, we work a lot on sustainability, but it's also still very, very manual work. And Lilia knows it better than anybody else with us. It takes you, how much reporting months? 3-4 months of your year, actually just doing simple reportings. And we consider ourselves relatively advanced, but still, so it's huge amount of data that we would somehow need to simplify, clean it, make it usable, make it comparable, and so on and so on. Even, Lithuanian government struggles to impose this taxonomy rules because nobody knows how much energy is consumed in the buildings. Nobody knows what is efficient building today. There is a rule of 15% of most efficient buildings, but what is those 15%? Where are they? Can you explain? Where are the thresholds? So a lot of things that simple quantifying, collecting data, cleaning it, and making it available is a value in itself. And of course, if we bring down the energy consumption I already mentioned, we save a lot. We will probably, enjoy maybe sometimes even negative prices for electricity, not about talking about positive prices, so you can actually get paid for consuming the energy rather than the other way. So from that perspective, I think there's huge opportunities for us. And of course, another big one is services that can surround the building, that can provide, that you can actually know, simply, if there is a cafe nearby, they could probably adjust the orders depending on how many people are in the building. If you just share the kind of basic data. It doesn't need to be named. It doesn't need to follow GDPR rules and so on. So you could just use a lot of these smart tools and become smarter and more efficient, and gain in that. And I think if we create, Lithuania as a center of the most efficient building and the most efficient that part, we would gain more business. Just imagine our guys in West Lithuania going and pitching these ideas to foreigners. They will have a bigger flag. And we support each other.
Yeah, thank you, Yasiris. We will definitely continue on this. Okay, so we reached half of the time, right? And now we need to be even more actionable. We had ideas before, but we even need to be more actionable. And let's try to see from each of your perspectives. So what should we do next? What's the next step? What's the step number 1? What's the step number 50, right? So again, could we start with you? And because I even heard from Evaldis, the CEO of Vesta Consulting, right, that even inside of the company, you also acknowledge this problem of the huge bureaucracy of the certification, and you're also thinking about digitalizing some processes. So I'm just also giving the ideas of the scope of possible innovation for startups. So could you share with us?
I mean, sustainability itself is such a broad aspect, and definitely much more broader than just energy efficiency. So I mean, if you look at the criteria of sustainability standards, which are consisting of multiple categories, starting from health and well-being of occupants, energy efficiency, and renewable energy, then water efficiency and usage, recycling, waste, resource, resilience, transportation, location, site ecology, and there's so many, and all of that is convertible to some kind of data points. And for us, data analysts, I would say in some form, is also very hard to combine all the data, and it's our work actually to transform this, not digital, but just physical data into digital data and transfer it to certification. So that's where I see the problem, and the future maybe that will hold is actually more transferable data, more sensor-based data, which will be automatically uploaded to some, main BMS system, or you name it, right? So I think there's technology that is already there, and I think the problem is just to combine the right tools, the right companies, and to create a solution for these problems. So I see that the data and this kind of expansion is the highest stake.
And I remember that you have 2 degrees in engineering, right? So you see this also from very technological perspective too. And your second degree was in the UK university, right? So
yeah.
When you were studying there, was it already there in the program, the advancements, the technology? How much emphasized it was when you were learning?
I mean, those days was on 2008-2009 crisis. So we were working with quite a simple data and simple engineering, projects. So, I would say that there's still back then, even in UK, was early adopters, and the whole mechanism is very, very big, and to move it, to advance it, it's very hard. So even back then, I didn't see any, kind of possibilities to have this, to use this opportunity. So yeah, I think back then I couldn't see the potential yet.
Okay, thank you, Genius. Lisa, do you have a microphone with you?
Yeah, sure. We talked a little bit on the panel about the market needs, number 1, turning data into actionable insights, number 2, anything that can help to retrofit buildings to make them more green, and 3, new solutions that can make newer buildings sustainable. One thing that I think is an interesting trend that I'd like to see more of is the concept of startups working together with developers at the earliest stages of development to see how they can develop an ecosystem to be more green. So for example, are you all familiar with the design charrette concept? Is anyone not? Do I have to explain it? Yeah, one thing that I've seen a lot of is groups of startups coming together that are not competing with each other, doing a design charrette with either a city or a large developer about how they can take a new development area and make it more sustainable. And this conversation helps to get these new solutions in at the earliest stages of development at both the public and private levels. So I'd like to see more of that as a way to increase PropTech adoption in the ecosystem.
Great idea. You mean that this is the way for startups different startups and different developers to make shared projects, right?
Yeah, I think it's a concept that is being pioneered in a lot of ecosystems. I don't see it super widespread yet, but I think it's something that has worked, especially in terms of getting the newest innovations into maybe more conservative types of developers.
And you've seen, Scandinavian PropTech and the rest of the market very well, right? What are the most promising areas you would identify? Like what you saw as the up and coming and the place to be, and areas in the industry?
Within Scandinavia or
Yeah.
In Scandinavia itself, I'd say the leading is anything within smart cities, and that's because of the really, really strong collaboration between startups and the public sector. The public sector is very digitalized, and they are able to work with startups at a very close level. I also say the same is true for many of the Baltic countries. For example, Estonia really pushes that story, and I think Lithuania has some of that as well. And also, those are the startups that have resonance in telling their story internationally. because they can say, hey, here's how we took this huge electronic music festival and made sure that there was a really good crowd control, not to mention recent events, using these types of smart city data collection tools.
Thank you. And you work with these international investors a lot, right? With Asian investors what were the geographies that you approached?
Yeah, so I worked a lot with East Asia, so Japan, South Korea, and then a little bit in South Asia with Singapore and Taiwan. And the China Bay Area, which I'd say maybe more difficult to work with at the moment.
Okay. And since we covered that, what the clients need from startups, yeah, what do they need? So what are investors? What are they? What are they looking for in terms of possible investments? Just broadly.
I mean, this is super broad, but one of the biggest trends that I've seen, this is especially the case in New York and the US, and also the case in Japan, is something that actually the Nordic countries and Europe was leading on, which is having a VC with an impact thesis, right? So all of a sudden, in the last 3 or 4 years, there's all these new funds popping up, small funds, 30 million, 40 million euros or USD, where they're specifically investing in climate tech or something with a green impact thesis, and putting that money into early stages with smaller ticket sizes like 5 million USD. I know it's a larger ticket size for Lithuania, but it's a pretty small ticket size for other ecosystems. That's definitely a new trend that I see, and they're looking for startups that tell the story of how they're going to solve climate change. That is definitely something that's new.
Thank you. Thank you. I will come back to everyone with as the last question after that, so we can think of one idea that would be the most brilliant to share with our colleagues, and I will give the stage to Mindaugas. So Mindaugas, you have this incredible opportunity to represent wide network of property developers who are, of course, really the movers and shakers of this industry. If they adopt the technology, then it's going. If they're not, if they are stuck, then we also stuck as an industry, right? So where would you say is the optimism of developers is right now? I hope to hear you that you say it's rising, right? So is it rising?
Yeah, as I talked earlier, I mean, more bravery could be into that, but it's really a competitive advantage. I mean, what is Kęstutis doing with his property, what others are doing in maintaining, collecting data, and why are they doing that? Because they want to be more competitive, more saving more resources, and so on, making a better environment for their tenants and for every sector, or for retail, or for commercial, or for residential. Maybe in residential is a big potential to improve, I would say. So it's a really big potential to search for new ideas. What is interesting for me, I would say, when I was sitting and thinking on what wasn't touched is about site selection for development. Let's say it's a big topic in the States, in Canada, where PropTech is employed into better knowing the location where you are, or you're planning to develop. I mean, now we get a lot of economical data, legal data, and so on. But worldwide, site selection is more interesting. I mean, you get a lot of engineering data. You have in the cities that are implementing or trying to implement digital twin projects, to have a twin city in a digital platform, you get a lot of interesting and simulative data on how your product is going to look, how it's going to behave, how its life cycle is going to look. So I think it's very, very early stage in Lithuania talking about that, but it's really interesting type of research. Then making a project, and now what let's say some of our architects are already employing is Google's Delph. Yeah, it's in the Sidewalk Labs laboratory born product Delph, which can with artificial intelligence can help make a project. Yeah, calculate all the economic data, the floor plans, the movement of the sun, and so on and so on. A lot of data. So some of our architects already employing this tool and helping our developers to work with that. It's very early stage, but very promising, very big potential for that.
Please connect us. We need them in the PropTech Association, because the progressive minds are always welcome here. And I'm very glad that you touched it, because I've seen myself these demos of the products where AI is literally making all the changes in real time, and you can put crazy ideas for your project, put more
thousands of ideas. I mean, not tens, but thousands, tens of thousands.
Exactly. So it is a promising thing, definitely. And you mentioned something where I'm even more excited. You mentioned the competitive advantage, right? And for business-minded peers in the auditorium today, and for others who listen to the event, competitive advantage might mean 5%, 10%, but I think we all know that it's going to be bigger. So I would like you both to cover, because you are from the industry, from the big players, and how do you feel? How big the competitive advantage technologies could give for you? Like, let's say in 5 and 10 years, even.
Maybe I can start a bit, and Kęstutis will pick up. It should be looked on the longer term perspective. I mean, to have a competitive advantage on one project, and if you take two similar, and one is using PropTech, the other one is not, one is collecting data, the other one is doing it less, the one has better energy efficiency, the other less. Okay, it's in the short term, maybe you'll win some tenants, maybe you'll have some better vacancy, smaller vacancy rate and so on, but I think it's growing the reputation. And we represent companies and players who are here to stay. I mean, who are planning their business 5, 10 years from now, and they are building their reputation. So even in our small region, it's very important. And onboarding the PropTech to your daily operations and stressing and letting your partners know about it, and your tenants know about it, and your residents know about it. I think it's one important thing, because the definition of developer in Lithuania is very young. And I would be wrong saying that none of you can become a developer. Yeah, you can start building a building in a simple way, and you'll be called a developer. And it's a bit different than in other countries, where you have to have certificates, where you have to have insurance, and so on and so on. So I think it's one thing that adds on top of the professional developer sustainable project that you have technologies, you have knowledge, you have experience, you have data that you are employing, and based on that you are doing your projects. You are not short-term project maker, you are developer from all the angles that you can think about. So I will stress this point, that it's for long-term players, and it will be a must to have it in your let's say resume it's a must.
Thank you. Kęstutis, could you?
I think it's definitely a huge advantage of trying to do some new things. And I think I'm not talking about innovation, but talking about simple things like certification. We started talking about certification in the Baltics around 5 years ago. I don't know if there is anyone daring to build a building now without a certification.
Commercial, no.
Commercial, no. I mean, because it's changing. And what we were talking about is that, if you don't have a certified building, you'll probably not be able to sell it. Because there will probably not be buyers. And I think it's another very important angle is that it's a huge pressure from all industries around, including financial industry, and not to sort of, and the money will shift from this brown money to green money. And probably there will be, differences. Today there are no big differences, but in the future it will probably be, more digital. It will either you get the money and you're certified, taxonomy compliant, or at least not compliant but eligible, or you don't get the money, and you have to search it somewhere else. So it will be much more difficult to attract. Either your property, which is already a relatively illiquid asset, is sellable or not, as well, and you need to do huge transformation. And we see a number of big institutions actually either offloading or selling their portfolios today that are non-compliant, that require huge investments at a very, very low prices today. So this trend is already there, it's ongoing, and this will only accelerate in the future. So from my perspective, I see definitely huge competitive advantage. I mean, we participate in many tenders, and in most of the tenders, your certifications, your energy efficiency, and so on are among the key parameters in getting even the tenants. So from that perspective, the world has already kind of shifted, and we are there. So it's a huge advantage of sort of being a bit further on. And of course, another very, very simple one. I mean, if we spend less on energy, €1 less on energy on average per square meter, we can competitively charge it on the rent, and we capitalize it, and the value of it is completely different. It's no longer €1, its value is €17, So it's that's the big thing.
I got chills when you were speaking, because I don't know if startups got this, but huge, like almost $1 billion worth of real estate companies just told everyone, right, that your solutions, your ideas will provide them huge competitive advantage, and that means the world for startup community. And yes, I would even I have this view. I'm very curious. Would you agree with that? That technological advancement would differentiate winners from losers in 10 years' time?
It's the same that happened with iPhone. You didn't need buttons before it came out without buttons, and some people argued, including myself, that I would prefer buttons, but I left it very quickly. So.
I really see that Eastnine is really putting all effort needed to be an iPhone in the industry. iPhone 15, something like that, 18 now. Okay, so guys, I could continue on and on. Like, can we expand it for another 3 hours, please? I'm kidding. So one last question for all of you, and so we had lots of ideas. It's not bad if we will repeat them and put emphasis on that. But so what would be the number one opportunity? Where would you advise for startups to focus their energy, focus their effort? What would be that one big opportunity that you see?
I start, right? Okay. So as probably everybody agrees that there's an agreement here that data is the most important. And I think we have lots of data available in the building. We just need to be able to read it. I mean, starting from energy, materials, wear, status of some equipment in the building. Everybody's wearing watches now. Everybody has some sense of data on themselves, right? How do we take all that data from the building? Not only energy, I mean, health and well-being, circular economy, so material status, stage of them. Is the equipment working well? HVAC, are there any errors, defects? So how do you combine into single hardware that would collect, receive that data, and output the result? What is the status? What is the actionable, situation later? What can you do with that? And I think it should be affordable and widely usable, so that every building, starting from the top, niche buildings, ending with, simple, other classes of offices could use that. And basically, at the result of it, you could maybe even understand what level of sustainability of your building is, real-time data, and use that to assess and to do some actionable steps.
Thank you again. So that was amazing. One thing, this is the reality, right? PropTech and sustainability is so wide, it's impossible to put to one. That's the reality. Thank you. Kęstutis?
I was very much into the same thing, but even more, decimaling it down to basically collect data, organize data, how to organize things, and simply download. Which, this is how do you get it out of the building, and it's. This is much more complicated than you think.
We're not afraid for challenges, so it's cool.
Yeah, so I agree with my colleagues regarding the data and the quality of data. You must know what data to collect, because you can collect all the data and then get lost. I mean, it's a really tricky thing, and in terms of GDPR and all the restrictions, you'll be busy doing that, and then you don't know how to use it. But my suggestion and message to the startups is take advantage of regulation that I mentioned in the beginning, of EU regulation, maybe worldwide regulation, or good practice from other countries, and present this to our companies, because sometimes you just don't know that you need it, but if someone brings you the idea or the hint, it might be part of this successful competition advantage. So as I was saying, we are quite regulated country and quite regulated industry in the country. So have a good lawyer on your team, have a good project manager, have an architect in your team, and come with a solution and come with a proposal for a developer, because sometimes it's in their minds, but they don't know how to they don't know that it can be solved via the technology, I think, and maybe you can see from the outside and bring this idea. It's a really big, but it's really huge potential carrying sector worldwide. It's second biggest asset class, and to optimize it is it's about tons of work, and there are developers and investors who are ready to pay for your solutions, to pay for your work, and to pay good money. And it's really scalable things that you can do, because start with a small project, start with a small developer, maybe not working only in the country, but in the region or in all the Europe, consult, and they are really hungry into getting their fingers into very interesting new challenges, and you are the ones who can bring them to them.
Amazing, and what Mindaugas just said, you can find all these lawyers and all other experts in events like this. This is why it's so valuable, right? So use the opportunity to talk to everyone and get all the knowledge to polish your products.
There's no disagreement for me. It's, can you take data and turn it into actionable insights? And as all of you have also mentioned, and then who is the insights for? You know, PropTech is huge. Is it for the brokers? Is it for the home buyers? Is it for the developers? Is it for the architects? Is it for the investors? All these people really need not just data, but they want to figure out how to make decisions based on it. That's really the problem to solve.
Thank you so much, and thanks everyone. One last thing I would like to add from my perspective, this one last advice. I was talking with one of the most prominent PropTech VCs in the world. It's Pi Labs. And I was saying, okay, guys, let's be real. You're not looking for Lithuanian PropTech startups. Like, it's too small, the market for you. And they said, no way. The only thing that we're looking, we don't care about geography. The only thing we care is that you would go for global ideas. That you cannot be just, don't build a product or a company or a startup for Baltics. Don't build it for small region. Think about global problems, and this is what will make. This is what can make you not even a billion. It can make you $100 billion worth of company. So that one advice. And do you have time for any questions, or we 5 minutes? Okay. So would anyone would like to ask a question? Yes, please.
I'm Natalia Mankiewicz from Eastnine, and as Mindaugas said, that 5 years ago, exactly in this location, we had PropTech first event in Lithuania, and Kęstutis mentioned that time has to come for specific products. So my question is for Mindaugas, do you see differences back then, 5 years ago, when you started PropTech, when you talked more or less about similar things in this conference 5 years ago, and now, what changed during this period? Not about these players or this event, but about market.
Yeah, thank you, Natalia, for a question. Yes, I see the difference, and the main difference is that we are focused now. We are more focused. 5 years ago, we talked about everything. The drones, AI, everything. We brought on the table and said, oh, PropTech is something about this. And now we're talking very about a few concrete things about the sustainability, about the technology, about the merge with the fintech and the possibilities it brings, about regulation and so on. So I think we are more and more focused, and maybe it's our national focus that we have to have some national spice in PropTech. We cannot be like in the States. I mean, you get to try everything. You have capital markets that are ready to invest and so on. So we have probably to have some few good options, few good strategies, and try to work on them. And probably that's also a message to our startups that don't try to do everything and try everything with the small steps. Maybe focus, hear developers, hear landlords, hear investment companies, what they need, and maybe with these steps it's going to be more successful. So that's probably the main change after the 5 years. More focusing, more. And we have some successful stories after 5 years. So, as I mentioned in the beginning, so it's also the road that we have come over the past few years.
I would like to add a little thing also to your question, that I think the main difference is also that we had just a month ago here European PropTech Association, president of European PropTech Association, and he was telling about all these incredible European programs that are going to pour billions upon billions of money into sustainability projects, and many of them are PropTech related. So I think this is the huge difference from 5 years ago, because crazy amounts of money are coming to the field. So, and my big belief is that this is when the PropTech is going to explode, because we have private investors, we have clients, we have international investors, and we have the EU money. So from here, we need always to have this in mind, and also see it in the organism. Of course.
Yeah. So about the real change, of course. So. Simple thing. 5 years ago, developers come and say, why should I do this in terms of sustainability? Now we come to the client, to developers, and ask him, why should you do this? And we get multiple answers. So the situation actually shifted. So I think the rise of awareness in 5 years has changed dramatically. Yeah, so that's it.
Do you have a question? Luna has a question. Perfect. We're listening to you.
I need a microphone. I'm on? Okay, good. Thank you. So question is for Lisa. Obviously, you've been pulled on the fact that you know the ecosystems, and I would like you to compare once again. Is there anything that, Nordic Baltic PropTech ecosystem can learn from the States?
Is this working? Yeah. This is not just for PropTech in general. This is actually for all startups. What the States are really good at with the startup ecosystem is the BS. It's the marketing. It's the really big ask. It's the ambition. It's walking in and saying we deserve $30 million even though we have barely any user traction because we stuck a Bitcoin wallet on it. That's something that's so important when you're fundraising, is that storytelling aspect. So, really lean into what you can learn from. Has anyone ever seen like Uber's early pitch deck? It's just a terrible, terrible pitch deck in terms of like design. But the ambition is just off the wall considering where they were at in terms of development. So really leaning into that and not being afraid to brag. In the Nordics, we have a word called jentelaw of jenta, which means it's very rude to brag. And I think startups here, you're very honest, and that's amazing, but that's not what will help you fundraising in the US, and it's not what helps you to really reach scalability at a global level.
Okay, thank you.
Perfect answer. Thank you so much. Any more questions in the back? Audrus, yeah?
Yeah, I'm Audrus Ramoshka, one of startup representative. Question to Mindaugas and Lisa. Mindaugas just mentions that property environment is very much regulated. So my question, because for changes, it is very much depend, not because property part could change, but should change as well regulator. So what your opinions from Mindaugas in Lithuania, for Lisa internationally, how regulators are ready to help property industry to change? What is your opinions? Are they ready or are they willing to change in parallel with industry?
Yeah, I can start. So actually, I think you can look at a lot of really good examples from the health tech industry. So for many, many years, and it's still the case, right, GDPR is much more strict than like HIPAA in the US. But building for that is actually a huge benefit for when you scale, because you have now worked for the most red tape, and then actually there's going to be less red tape when you scale. So trying to be successful when there's a lot of regulation, and maybe it takes a little bit more time and a little bit more thought to get the product off the ground, is actually going to be a boon when you move into less regulated markets, and that's the case for many of the larger markets.
Yeah, I would say that regulation from governmental and from European side would come with some initiative or some help also, and that help, the first thing that comes to my mind, it could be data, open data that you can operate with and make your decisions quicker, faster, and more accurate. Because if you need to make a change, if you need to make adjustment, you need some bigger data of information. Now that we are trying to persuade government in making some changes, or that their changes are irrelevant to our country, we try to use data from other countries and say, okay, others are doing different. They are not doing so strictly, or they are doing more strictly, and so on. So I think help of the government could be, first of all, making more research themselves on why they are doing that and making this regulation stricter. Because in Lithuania, it's really, sometimes it's happening, okay, we have one bad story, it's like 1% of the market, and then we cut the regulation to a very strict level. So to analyze, to think for themselves, and then to provide it to the market with the intention that, okay, we want to do it better, we want you to be better, but provide it with some data that they have collected, and open some data in national legislation. Today we heard about Infostatyba, Center of Registers is a very big potential, that they should open their real-time data in making the decisions for real estate companies, and I would think about maybe others who have social data, who have health data, city data that we're talking about. It's then easier to adapt to these changes.
And we also have a regulator representative here. Maybe would you like to add something about how it's changing, like from a regulator's perspective, if you would like? Because you know the best, you know we can.
I know it, and I know how it is tough to regulate this, because now we are solving the question. The guys, there's like one flat building, but the guy is building 30 flats building, you know, and there is no such rule in our constitution that you cannot build 30 toilets, 30 bathrooms, 30 kitchens. And he's telling me just so it will be for myself, you know, I'm building, but we know that you're building like to sell it for 30 clients. And it's quite tough to solve this, because either you just tell that, okay, like a municipality could like make a decision on their own, you know, decide and tell that you cannot allow, we think it's something, it's not good, and we will not allow you to do this. But then again, our other institutions will say it's like it's a huge corruption risk for corruption, you know. So to tell, to give the power for someone without any rules to tell that you cannot build this. So it's quite really tough to regulate. But personally, I'm always for this position that we cannot punish everyone just because there are some bad people there. So usually it means if you are moving toward this direction, it means you did something wrong. You have to look for data, you have to analyze the situations, you have to put more effort and to somehow to avoid this regulation for everyone, because there are like several companies that are doing something bad. So it's the regulations are tough, I think.
I would, last short remark that there are some tools in the environment, in our environment, and some projects that that open up more publicity to the people who live in the environment and who want to look at the project that's going to be built. So let's also explore these possibilities where people can check on what's going to be built and have their voice. And maybe sometimes it's stronger than the voice of the government, who tries to strictly forbid, but then the community says, okay, we don't want this project in our neighborhood, and sometimes they are really strong into making successful stepping in and changing the project. So I would also encourage using these tools because your community is developed.
So I'll just add that's why we want to open all the data personally, because what we're trying to restrict, like you have to open the data, but the data that only is necessary. But our answer is we don't know which is the necessary data. That's why we want to everything, and because we might open some opportunities that we don't know yet that they are possible, just to by giving the data to public giving it to people, you might find some really nice startups before it was what even impossible to think about.
Okay, so we definitely out of time. So thank you, huge thanks for every one of you for genuine and deep answers. It's obvious that you want to contribute. It's obvious that you want to share good experience, and you're not holding it for you, but you inviting everyone into this new game of PropTech. A separate thank you for you, Lisa, for traveling around the world just to be here with us. It's amazing, and it also means that, okay, people are coming here, they're giving us lots of trust, yeah, that we are here, we are ready to grasp all this information. So thank you all, thank you for this beautiful audience, and hope to see you all.
Right, thank you the panel discussion, and with that I announce PropTech Innovation Camp Week open. Thank you very much. It's open. Before the startups head to work, there are a few practical tips that I want to say, so everyone listen up, because I think everyone in this audience is going to be somehow mentioned. First of all, for those who come and listen, there are some of the events that are aimed at startups but open for everyone, and they are here. Data has been mentioned so many times today. We can deepen that topic tomorrow, 10 o'clock, about the data collection and analytics. Then we have Wednesday about the office space and on the future of it. Super interesting for anyone who works in the office, all of us. And then November the 18th is PropTech Innovation Camp closing event, which is definitely the cherry on the cake, because then you can hear the startups, what ideas they've been working. There's going to be a pitching competition and a graduation closing party, so do come to that. Now, I want to take the opportunity that startups are listening. So I want to invite Olga here, because she will give the practical tips for the startups. And I know that Eastnine team is all of you here. Then I would like to invite you here, because you know how they say, picture or it didn't happen. So we have to take a picture. So there's two very important things. So startups over here, Eastnine team over here. Can we have that? Everyone else, if you're not a startup or not an Eastnine team, over to the coffee. And that's where I'll see you. All right, thank you very much for coming. Panelists obviously in the picture, sorry. I hope... Palauk, Zhnika, we'll take a picture. And then you are just... Oh, you can see.